In 2019, Tua Tagovailoa was seen by many as a future number 1 overall pick. His talented throwing ability, him coming from a rich Alabama football culture, and his magnetic personality made him a fan favorite by many fans, media, and scouts very quickly. As we all know, the first time we saw Tua was on the big stage, and this happened.
Tagovailoa trying to make up for it. Fires to the end zone. Touchdown! Alabama wins!
As you saw, Alabama did end up winning the national championship that year with Tua's heroics, and he never looked back from then. He went on to break many records at Alabama and was looked at as the number 1 pick until Joe Burrow happened and also this happening. Nevertheless, he still went top 5 to the Dolphins and was looked at as a potential franchise cornerstone. Today we're going to talk about what I think of him so far and why I think he would be due for a breakout second season, now that he's the full-time quarterback. Before we start, make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe, and without further ado, let's get into this video. Now, during the recording process of this video, there were rumors that Deshaun Watson might get traded to the Dolphins, and obviously that affects Tua, as it would be certain that he wouldn't be on the Dolphins anymore and he would be on the Houston Texans. I don't know how legit those trade rumors are or the potential of that trade actually taking place, so we're still going to talk about Tua as if he's not going to get traded. At Alabama, Tua Tagovailoa broke countless passing records and became one of the best players to ever play at the program, and as we all know, that's very, very impressive. He left school with the highest quarterback rating in Alabama history, also recorded the most touchdown passes with 87 and 300-yard games with 10 of them, and a whole bunch of other single season records, but I'm not going to flood y'all with too many numbers. From the beginning, you could see the potential oozing out of him, as in 2017, while he was the backup to Jaylen, Tua would come in during garbage time and absolutely light it up. Yes, many people say garbage time doesn't count, but with the eye test alone, you can see how talented he was back then. Before his injury in late 2019, Tua was looked at by many as the presumptive number 1 overall pick in the 2020 NFL Draft. Well, let's revisit what made Tua so special in the eyes of many scouts and coaches. The first topic of discussion was how damn accurate he was. I mean, he drew comparisons to Drew Brees for crying out loud. It seemed as if every ball he threw was on time and on target. In the 2 years that he started, he never threw for under 69% completion. And he's top 5 all-time for career completion percentage in NCAA history. Scouts were also salivating over how pretty the ball came out of his hands, as it was a consistent tight spiral that dropped softly right in the hands of his receivers. Not to mention how well he ran through his progressions. And I'll say personally, I don't think I've seen any quarterback go through his progressions as quickly and as well as Tua did coming out of college. Tua went to the Miami Dolphins, who were looking for another quarterback after the Ryan Tannehill era had failed. It was the beginning of a new era. It was time for a new quarterback and a new coach. The problem I had with Brian Flores and the Dolphins was that Tua didn't start earlier in the season. Yes, I understand that he was prioritizing winning, but with a rookie quarterback and a potential franchise guy, it's a good thing to let him go through his ups and downs as early as possible in their careers so they know how to adjust accordingly and grow from it. With that being said, although the Dolphins were on a 2-game win streak, in Week 8, Tua had finally been named a starter over Ryan Fitzpatrick for the upcoming game against the Rams. No better way to get your first career start against one of the best defensive linemen of all time in Aaron Donald, right? On Tua's second snap as a starter, he was welcomed with a strip sack fumble by guess who? Aaron Donald. Luckily, Tua responded, although not in the biggest way. He finished going 12 of 22 that game with 93 yards and 1 touchdown. The Dolphins' defense and special teams dominated to the point where he didn't have to produce as much. The next week, he went up against the Cardinals, and Tua definitely had a breakout game, obviously due to him going up against a not-so-good Cardinals defense. I'm kidding. Well, partially. Him going against a top 5 defense in the LA Rams did have something to do with him not looking too impressive in his starting debut, but in his second game against the Cardinals, he did look a lot more comfortable out there. Most of the plays that were called for him were really conservative for the most part, but not too basic, so it allowed Tua to go out there and make plays down the field with his arms and his feet as well. One underrated aspect about Tua's game is his ability to scramble out of the pocket and run with the ball when everything breaks down around him, and he really showed that in that Cardinals game. It sort of gives me Russell Wilson vibes in a sense. During the next 2 games against the Cardinals and the Chargers, he was 35 of 53, which is 66%. He threw for 4 touchdowns and no interceptions. Besides the 2 games that Tua was benched in, this is what Tua's stats were looking like. 63% completion percentage, 232 yards per game, 9 touchdowns and 5 interceptions while holding a 5-2 record. And you could see the development as the games went along. Props to Brian Flores for putting Tua in a good spot in order to succeed. Props to the defense as well. Like I mentioned earlier, one great positive trait about Tua coming into the NFL was that he was great at going through his progressions quickly and getting the ball out of his hands efficiently. You saw that on display during his rookie season, as well as him having a good pocket presence. Obviously, there were times where he did struggle with pocket presence, especially when going to good to elite defensive lines, and I feel like he can escape the pocket even faster than what he did last season. And there's no doubt to believe that Tua would not improve in that area. However, the part that I found most confusing was the fact that Brian Flores benched Tua not once, but twice over the course of the season. As we all know, rookie quarterbacks do tend to struggle no matter how good they are, and Tua struggled, especially in Week 11 against the Broncos and in Week 16 against the Raiders. In both games, he was largely ineffective and threw for under 100 yards heading into the fourth quarter of both of those games. Yes, I know the Dolphins were in a win-now situation as they were one of the more surprising teams in the NFL last year, but drafting your quote-unquote franchise quarterback and not treating him like a franchise quarterback is not the way to go. I know people will bring up the fact that Tua had just came off a significant injury the year before, or they'll say, oh, winning should always be the main priority, or oh, Tua sucked, of course he should have been benched. Well, if they plan on Tua being the guy in the long run, wouldn't they want him to go through his struggles early on and let him learn from those struggles through experiences, rather than just benching him and letting him watch from the sidelines? I honestly think a lot of quarterbacks in the previous years have failed simply because they weren't given that opportunity to make those mistakes so they could end up learning from them and coming back better and stronger later on. Because that also messes with the quarterback's confidence, and Tua's confidence might already be shook due to the Deshaun Watson trade rumors that were circling a little bit at the end of last season, as well as the trade rumors that are circling right now before this season even starts. So Tua having the trade rumors at the back of his mind, coupled with the fact that Brian Flores did bench him a couple times last season in favor of Ryan Fitzpatrick, who knows where his confidence is at right now. I'm not saying his confidence is shook or low or anything like that, although I wouldn't be surprised if it was low-key. But hey, the only thing that's going to solve any confidence issues or any trust issues between Tua and Brian Flores and the coaching staff is obviously performing well and winning. Winning cures everything. I also have to address the elephant in the room, which are the injury concerns for Tua. He did get hurt last season a little bit. It wasn't too bad. He missed one game, came back, and he looked fine. But prior to that, obviously we know he had that hip injury, that significant injury at Alabama that cost him the #1 overall pick in my opinion. Also going back even further, he had a couple ankle injuries. He also had ankle surgery at Alabama as well. So the injury concern is kind of there for Tua. He's not the biggest guy in the world. He's not the most athletic guy in the world. So injuries with him are always going to be a thing to really keep an eye out for. But to end this thing off, either way, if they embrace him fully and build a competent offense around him, I think he could be due for a big season and prove some of these doubters wrong. The culture in Miami already seems pretty stable. The defense is top 10, and those are two great things for a young quarterback. For Tua and the Dolphins to reach their full potential, the right offensive pieces must be acquired, and drafting Jaylen Waddle is obviously a great start. But the run game is honestly the main concern for me. Hopefully the backs perform better than they did last season, as well as the offensive line, because a run game can really help take some pressure off of Tua, as well as fit in well with Tua's strengths. At Bama, Tua was very good when it came to play action deep shots after the run game had done its job. If the Dolphins can impose their will on the ground to some degree, I think we'll see major success in their offense as a whole. But with that being said, y'all, I'm excited for Tua Tagovailoa because I know some people did fall off the Tua bandwagon after last season, but I still think this guy has the potential to be a Pro Bowler type of quarterback, an All-Pro type of quarterback, and the guy that can be your quarterback on a championship level team eventually. Let me know what y'all think. More NFL and NBA videos on the way. What do y'all want to see next? Just let me know in the comments down below, and I got y'all. But with that being said, this is Jimmy from Just the Facts, and I'm signing out. Peace.